Okay guys, welcome back. Today we're going to talk about germinating seeds. I'm going to walk through some of the ideas and concepts around that. I don't believe there is any one particular method. I think you go with whatever you're comfortable with. Whatever method you choose is probably the right method. Alright, so let's talk about this. First thing, when it comes to germinating a seed, what we're looking for here is getting a taproot out of the seed. That's going to make this seed viable for us when we put it into the soil or wherever we're putting our seed. So we can start off, there's a couple concepts of how to get a seed softer so that the taproot will come out easier. One of the most famous ways is to put your seed in a cup of water. Now, when you put your seed in the cup of water, there's one of two things that might happen here. The seed might sink down to the bottom of the cup immediately, or the seed will float on top of the water. Now, from my experience, when it comes to germinating seeds, the number one thing that I've found is if that seed sinks, that's a viable seed. That seed will produce a taproot for you. Now, the reason these seeds are floating is because there's air trapped inside that seed, and it's causing that seed to float. Now what happens is, as the seed's sitting there in the water, the seed's becoming softer, and the softer the seed becomes, the easier it is for that taproot to come out of that seed, to crack open and allow that taproot to come out. So this is a method that I've always used. I've had really good success with it. I've had stubborn seeds that, you put them in water for far too long that you think, everyone has this standard idea anywhere between 0 and 24 hours that you would keep this seed in the water, but I think it all comes down to how quickly or how viably you can take that seed. If you're watching it carefully, because I know I've forgotten seeds and next thing you know, the seed's not viable anymore. So it's really important. You need to make sure you're ready with that seed when you put it in the water, because as soon as you put it in the water, that triggers that seed that things are going to start to happen here. And the reason this is happening, if you think about plants and plants in the wild, and how in the fall the plants are flowering, creating seeds, and the seeds are spreading. Come springtime, when things just start to warm up, the ground starts to warm up, the frost, if there is frost, is starting to leave the ground is starting to become a reasonable environment for this seed to say, hey, it's time to wake up. My taproot wants to come out now because there's a nice environment out there for me that looks kind of interesting, not the one inside the seed where all I'm seeing is inside of this seed. So, without further ado, I will try and explain some of this diagram. So, as you can see, the seed is on the top floating. It eventually sinks or doesn't sink, like I said. Sinking to me indicates this seed is viable. So there's going to be some time, the time that that seed starts floating, to the time that that seed sinks. And that could be anywhere between 0 to 24 plus hours. Who knows? Every seed's different. Every genetic's different. So we're going to have some amount of time. We know that. In order to get this taproot out of this seed, there is some amount of time that we need to put in. How we put that time in is your choice. But Remember the goal. You want to get the taproot out of the seed. So there are some techniques when you have a stubborn seed to encourage that taproot to really come out. So some things that can happen with genetics, you get a very, very hard-shelled seed because of the environment that that seed's used to, because of its genetics, where it came from. So the questions you have to ask yourself, even when you're starting to germinate your seed, where did this seed come from? Where is it naturally occurring? What kind of environment is this seed used to? Is this seed a seed that has a very hard shell? Is this seed a seed that has a soft shell? Those kind of questions are the ones that you want to ask yourself. This is what's going to set you up for the success of germinating your seed. It's not what method. It's just there's different tools here to help people or help the seed produce a taproot. How we get to that taproot, anyone's guess, anyone's choice. But that is all we're trying to do. We want a seed, want a beautiful, beautiful seed where we know we're starting with these genetics. Okay. How are we going to get a little taproot out of that seed? One way, maybe putting your seed in a cup of water. One way, maybe just putting your seed in a wet paper towel. Everyone who researches this stuff will find different tools. Another tool might be putting your seed into a nice, warm, moist paper towel that's going to give your seed an environment that it wants to produce the taproot for you. And that's all that it comes down to. Sure, you're going to try some seeds. Some seeds will fail. That's the genetics of those seeds. They were meant to fail. We want the strongest genetics. You want the seeds that are going to produce a beautiful taproot. Look at images of taproots. Do your research on a taproot. What is it? What does it need? What does it mean? This is what's going to drive the initial life of this plant. Very crucial. This is like the baby seed. You really want to nurture this part of its life. It's the foundation to your plant. You nurture the seed, the taproot, the environment for that seed, and you are going to have success with your germination. I promise you, you will have success. Okay. So one thing you can do is wet your paper towel. Carefully put your seed into the paper towel. You want to create a nice, warm environment. It can be dark. Seeds that are in the ground have no light. That's the concept here. We can then put the seed in this warm blanket, all comfortable, however you want to fold it. Make this beautiful, beautiful place for this seed to create its taproot for you. That's going to drive a lot of the success of your plant. At this stage, you want to make sure you keep the paper towel always moist. These paper towels can dry out on you pretty quickly, depending how moist you've left it. You obviously don't want to leave your seed sitting in a mountain of water for an extended period of time. Because what's eventually going to happen is this seed's going to open up. As we talked about, this seed is going to open up for you. A taproot is going to come. That taproot is going to want to stay in a perfect environment. That means moisture, warmth, possibly darkness. Again, hopefully you've done some research up front. You've identified some of the tools. You've identified what the seed is trying to do. You've identified what the taproot is trying to accomplish and how those pieces fit together. Now that you've reached that stage, the most crucial stage of this plant, you are already ahead of a lot of growers who struggle with the germination. Maybe they get lucky on half of their seeds, but they don't understand why it is that they're being successful or not successful. And that's the key. Understanding why things have failed and understanding the success on your germinations. What is the difference? What's making me successful? What's not making me successful? What environment am I providing for this seed and this taproot? Now, another thing I want to touch on here is we might have mastered this stage. Okay, now we have, every time we're producing a beautiful, beautiful taproot. Okay, are we ready for the next stage? We need to make sure we're already ready before we've even started the first stage. We need to be ready for the second stage, because we don't want to change the environment on that seed, because changing the environment for that seed drastically could cause a lot of stress. And if this is the most crucial time, stress might not be the best thing right now. We want to nurture the seed, nurture the taproot, give it the environment that it's going to be successful in. So we've done our time. We've all done our time now. We've got successful taproots. We have successful germination. Next stage, we need to be ready here. Where are we going to put this seed once we have the taproot? Now, ideally, what we're looking for here is a taproot with a length long enough that you feel comfortable with, that when you put it in the new environment, it's going to be successful. Maybe that's half an inch taproot. Maybe that's an inch taproot. Maybe you say, you know what, Drew? Step one's not for me. There's another way here for me. Maybe I'll go straight to step two. Maybe my confidence is I can just drop my seed in this new environment, and everything that we've nurtured here, I can nurture here. So Drew, why am I doing step one? And really, this is just a tool to keep you being successful for the next stage. Once you've mastered stage one, maybe, you feel like you can skip straight to stage two and just put your seed straight into the soil, maybe. Could be an option, might be a tool. Great. Are you successful? Does it make you successful? Use the tools that make you successful. So now that we have, again, a beautiful taproot, that taproot is going to be looking for food to continue to grow beyond what it had available in the shell. Now that it's out of the shell in this new environment, we need to provide more support. We need to feed it. We need to give it a proper environment. We need to start thinking about the next stage. I know. How can we be thinking about the next stage, Drew? I just put my seed in the soil. It's going to take maybe a day, 5 days. Again, that's down to the genetics of the seed. How well did we nurture it to get to this part or this stage? Are we successful? Were we only 50% successful here? Maybe we had a taproot. Maybe the taproot wasn't quite what we thought we would have. Don't be afraid to start again. 0 to 24 hours. I'd rather restart 0 to 24 hours than 3-4 days. That might be 1 to 5 days. Who knows how long when I put that seed before it comes out of the soil or whatever environment you've set up. What stage? That next stage, is the environment ready for the next stage? When this seed is ready for its next stage, are you ready? Be ready. We are going to try and mimic the environment between the stage. Every stage we want to keep that environment consistent for the life of this plant. Very important. Now, what does the environment consist of? Humidity, temperature, lighting, tent, no tent, indoor, outdoor. What does the environment look like? What stage am I at? What does the environment look like? What do the genetics tell me about the environment? Can I provide the environment that these genetics were meant to be in? If I can provide that environment, I may be setting myself up for the greatest success, because I'm giving everything that this seed was evolved to be. If I make the perfect environment for these genetics, they will succeed. They will succeed. Now, what kind of environment did we move this seed and this taproot? What kind of environment did we come from? We came from a warm, moist, possibly dark environment. Where am I going to take my seed from when I put it into the soil? Right, Drew, I want to keep my environment consistent. I want a nice, warm, moist environment in my soil, the same as what I had my seed in, or my taproot in this next stage. We don't want to overwater our taproot. We don't want to have our taproot shooting to the sky. Our taproot wants to go down. The roots want to go down. They want to go out. They don't want to come up. So when we put our seed into the soil, we want to make sure our roots can go out. So our taproot wants to come down in here. You want to create some darkness. Put a little soil on top of your taproot. How big is my taproot? If I bury the seed a foot down and my taproot's maybe 1 inch, am I giving it the best environment to get out of that soil? No. I have a 1 inch taproot maybe. I can get that out of the soil really quick, Drew. Why don't I just do 1/2 inch hole? I have 1 inch taproot, 1/2 inch hole. That'll be out of the soil in no time, Drew. Possibly. Possibly. Trial and error. We are going to see some success here. We are going to see some failures. If we've just started on our first grow and we get to stage 2 and oops, Drew, my seed didn't come out of the soil. No problem. No problem. I'll ask, did you control your environment? Why, yes, Drew, my environment was perfect. I did everything you told me. I took the time. I saw this beautiful taproot. I put it in this nice environment. Drew, how come my taproot didn't take off and create little roots? Or Drew, why didn't my seed come out of the soil? It's been a week. It's been 2 weeks. Okay, maybe my seed might not be coming. It might not have took to my environment here. So now I'm going to ask the question, what did I do here? What did I do, Drew? Or maybe I did everything right. Of course, Drew, you did everything right. You gave it the perfect environment. You put the taproot into the soil perfectly. You gave it the perfect watering, the moisture. You gave it the perfect dirtness. But we're forgetting something. There's another variable here that we're forgetting. The failure here isn't Drew's fault or your fault. The failure here might actually be genetics. Maybe this was a beautiful genetic plant that could produce beautiful taproots. But maybe this particular seed could make beautiful taproots, but maybe it couldn't make beautiful roots. We have no idea. That is a variable we can't control. But Drew, you said if we start with great genetics, we will have success. Yes, I did say that. But I also said we need to trial and error through every stage until we can master stage 1 or stage 2 or stage 3. However many stages you want. You create the stage. You bring that plant to the next stage. You give it what you believe is the best for that plant. And you will have success. At the end of the day, you will be successful because you never gave up. You didn't give up at stage 1. You didn't give up at stage 2. You took the success from stage 1 to get you stage 2. You went to stage 2, you got success, you got success, you got success. You're getting success in stage 1 every time. You're building the confidence here. You're building the confidence here. You're building the confidence to get you to every stage, every level, every next step. You've mastered this. You're a master at germinating seeds, cannabis seeds. You've become a master. You are in the mastery level. No grower is going to be able to germinate a seed in any other better way than you can. You can germinate a seed successfully every time. Congratulations. You can put a seed into the soil. Again, genetics, genetics. We're not counting the failures, we're counting the success. We've succeeded here a million times. We're as good as any other grower. We are growers. We are all good growers. Good growers. We've mastered this, we've mastered that. We've mastered these pieces of our growing. How many of your friends have mastered these pieces? How many growers do you know have mastered these pieces? Maybe they just get lucky. 50% of them are getting lucky. Maybe. I don't know what the percentage is. But I know for a fact, if you can master or you can find the tools to get you to the next stage to be successful, you will be successful. You will germinate a seed. You will have a seed take root. You will have your first little seedling come out of the soil and show its leaves. You can do this. You can do this. Drew can do this. You can do this. We will be successful. We will be successful. Thank you for listening. I hope you will find success with germinating with your next stages. Thank you, everyone. Until next time, see you later.